I heard got numerous calls about the testimonials. So,
Hey,
for those that understand, and I mean, have been in the business a little while, stories sell and facts tell. So, not sure what's going on with my camera. Y'all just bear with me. I really kind of needed a backup plan because I was down in the Keys. I flew out of the Keys into Sarasota. Had a hard time getting out of Sarasota this morning due to weather, and I landed in Destin to pick up another daughter. And anyhow, I've been dodging storms and kind of flying all along the coast down here. So everybody looks good. Good evening, and yeah, Jane, great job last week. I heard the call went really well. So great subject. Great subject.
yeah, we can't hear enough stories.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I hope everybody kind of adds to their journal. I think you guys have heard Darcy and I talk about over the years. When it gets recognition time at the conferences and things like that, a lot of people kind of check out sometimes, and that's when I've got my journal open, and if I see it, Jane Lehman going across stage and she's sharing her story, I'm writing background, number of years in the business, and what her, price to promise story was. It doesn't really matter if it's part-time to full-time. If I see Gloria Houghton going across stage, I'm writing that down. If I see Jim Carroll going across stage, Jim's background, he might be a fireman. Gloria's background, she might be an educator. Jane's background, she might be a, business broker. I see Calvin Stewart going across. Calvin Stewart might be professional, football player. He looks like a professional football player. Anyhow, I never know in what part of my prospecting that I'm going to come across somebody that maybe has a background similar to Jim's, or has a background similar to Gloria's or Jane's. It's like, and I'm always looking for three-way calls or opportunities. If I can't even do a three-way call, to mix and match. And so I might be saying to my prospect, let's just call my prospect, Kathy. I might say, hey, Kathy, I've got a friend who was just at our conference and just got recognized. Her name is Jane. Her story is very similar to yours. As an educator, she was just sick and tired of being sick and tired, was looking to make some part-time money, and in her first year made an extra $30,000. So and all of a sudden, it's just kind of like, well, wait a minute, I can relate. I don't expect everybody to relate to me or everybody to relate to my story. So I'm always looking to mix and match, or what I like to call mirror, stories that are out there with others. And hey, look, at the closer I can keep it to the Shield Nation organization, the better chance I could probably even get a three-way call, with one of those individuals. So stories sell and facts tell. So let me do this just to make sure that I stay on time. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here, and tell me that y'all can see that if you would.
you can.
Good. Hey, also, and if we've done this twice, then great. If I haven't done it yet because I've been traveling so much, I want to be sure I do so. But buenos noches, mi amigo, to Paul Archuleta, our good friend, tremendous leader down in the New Mexico market. I hope everybody knows. If you haven't got a chance, give him a shout out, give him a text, an email, congratulate him. Shield Nation's newest $150,000 ring earner. And probably by the time I get done with this call, he'll be at the $200,000 ring, because he's on a roll, man. He's just crushing it. And Paul, a big congratulations to you, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, so it looks like we'll be able to cross maybe the stage together and be back in the green room together, Paul. Looking forward to it. Anyhow, let's just jump in. And if I've got some time, love to just take any questions y'all might have. I know that, you guys have got through the plan and, control, and now we're kind of at the execute side. So I want to just kind of discuss a few things when it comes to execution. And one of the first things that we talk about, I hope everybody can see the screen. I don't know how to manipulate, the pictures and what's on here, but, the very first thing we talk about and need to give a conscious awareness to is self-management. Really understanding the things that you and I can control. And what we control And what we need to understand is the priority and kind of the process of that control. But, our process management is our daily method of operation. And this, let me say this. This is critical for each one of our understandings, because where your awareness goes, your energy goes. And you've heard me discuss that our responsibility today is even more critical than ever, because the majority of the world, let's just talk about the majority of North America, has been trained. I don't like to use the word programmed because it just kind of freaks people out, I think, sometimes, but the truth is the truth. We, and I'm talking about me as well, have been programmed. Look, I came from a 30-year educator. We go to class and the bell rings and we sit down and we're lectured to, and the bell rings and we get up and we go to another class and we sit down and we're lectured to, and the bell rings and we get up and we sit down and we're lectured by someone else. And we do this through K through 6 and then middle school, and then we do it through high school, and then they program us for college, and then we're told basically security's in getting a job, a job. And I won't even take the time to go down that road, and to look at medium income and where that's been for the last 40, 50 years. But for the most part, job is just above broke. And you look, if you are an educator, if you are an engineer, if you're in corporate America, if you're a nurse, if you're a doctor, if you love what you do, man, I celebrate it. But I'm just saying in general, the W-2 world is considerably different than the independent 1099 world. And in the W-2 world, we know that we're supposed to be at work by 8 for the most part and stay till 5, and we get a lunch break at noon, and they give us a syllabus of kind of what our responsibilities are. And if we don't adhere to those responsibilities, we probably get fired. So when people come and look at our business for whatever alternative or whatever their why might be, whether it's extra money, whether it's time freedom, or whether it's peace of mind, or whatever it might be, we need to help them understand self-management. Self-management is critical, because you don't have to get up at 6:30 in the morning and drive across town to get to work by 8. You can actually sleep in till 10 o'clock if you want, because guess what? You're now the CEO or the boss of your own business. You're 2 weeks into your business and your brother calls and says, "Hey, I'm coming to town. Let's go play golf." And if you had the job, you wouldn't be able to go play golf because you'd have to be at the job. Your boss wouldn't let you go play golf. Here you can say, "Oh yeah, I got my own business. I haven't done anything with it yet. I'll go play golf." So I think y'all got kind of the idea, and so that's the accountability. That's the honest conversations we have with each other. Iron sharpens iron. That's the conversation we have, with our associates, part-time or full-time. But process management, what is that daily method of operation? What is your daily method of operation? Number 2 is priority management. Are you putting the first things first? I can't tell you how many times I'm visiting people or I'm seeing people, first thing they do when they get up after maybe making a cup of coffee is they start getting, on the emails and looking at social media. That's just absolutely poor priority. That's a poor priority management. It's a poor time management aspect. And really, when I talk about time management, we'll get into that, just organization, tracking, what you can't measure, you can't expect. Emotional management, that's actually a fun one. I would actually, Jane, like to have even more time on another night to talk about emotional management. And I can share all kinds of John Hoffman stories with you on, crazy kind of life stories where, in my early days, I quit the business, only to Jim Carroll, I want to borrow that back scratcher. That looks good. Where I quit the business, but I got back in the business, but just the emotional roller coaster, and then decision management. So those are some of the things, that you and I can manage. Those are some of the things that we can control, so 1 and 2, process and priority management. I don't know what kind of systems y'all use. I mean, probably isn't even good to say, but I'm still kind of a paper guy. I have been and have used for probably the last 30 years a Franklin planner. That works for me. I like to take notes. I retain more when I take notes. I like to reflect on my process when I can go back and look at things 3 days ago, 3 months ago, or even 3 years ago because of how I prioritize and look at things, you know. But what process will produce the outcome you want? What is urgent? What is important? List the activities in order of priority. You know, you want to have an A list, you want to have a B list, and you want to have a C list. In our business, our A list is really pretty simple. It's seeing the people and telling the story. We've really got two objectives: to sell memberships and protect families, and to expand our business. You know, and so I don't know what your process and priority management is. If you don't have one, I would encourage you to strongly take a class and get one. It will return 10x compared to anything you've done before, because you will be so much more productive in all areas of your life. I can't see that. What do I have here? How do I shut this down here?
It says, do what you want. Do you know what to do and when to do it?
Yeah, thank you. Do you know what to do and when to do it? And that kind of, how many of y'all have been here before? Uh, listen, there's times where I get up and I didn't think the night before about some of my priorities, or even the afternoon before when I'm kind of listing some of my priorities for the next day. And I'm like, and I'm kind of scrambling a little bit, and I'm like, I don't want to start thinking about what I need to do and when to do it the morning of. I'm giving that thought, the day, 2-3 days before, in respect to how, organize my business. And so I like this analogy here, read that for me, Jane, would you?
That is priority principle, the law of the harvest.
Yeah. Priority principle is the law of the harvest. In other words, a farmer knows what he or she has to do. In the springtime, they're not in the Florida Keys like I was in the wintertime, or even maybe in the wintertime they are, but in the springtime, they're certainly not. When the fields are ready to be planted, if they have a lot of acreage, they've got 10, 12, 16-hour days, and they're in the field. If the fields are dry, they're in the fields longer, because if the field's wet, they can't plant. Same thing come fall time. They're not taking a vacation. This is priority management, and priority management is going to yield, opportunities because you understand the harvest. So, I just think it's a good analogy, and, you got to do the thing to have the power. That's what Watson said with IBM. You got to do the thing to have the power. You've got to plant the seeds. And even though you don't see anything for a couple of months, well, I shouldn't say that. You don't see anything for a month. You put the seed in the dirt for a month, maybe even 6 weeks. All you see is dirt, 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 dirt. It rains, it's dry, the sun comes out, dirt, dirt, dirt. Then eventually a little bud produces and breaks through that soil, But I tell you what, come August, come September, you've got a field of wheat, you've got a field of corn, you got a field of soybean, you've got a field of whatever it is you planted. And it's no different than the seed time and harvest with you and I. You can go ahead and plant those seeds and be thinking, gosh, nothing's working, nothing's working. And then boom, you see something sprout here and something sprout there and something sprout here. And you got a membership you sell here, you got a group you open up there, you've got 5 referrals here, you've got 2 new associates there, and then you've got somebody who says, I want to go executive director, and they get out there and they just crush it and they run with you. So just understand, the importance of the harvest. And this is really one of the finest time management tools that you can have. So if you guys want to spend more time on this, I'll do it with you. Darcy will do it with you, but this is something that I've lived by. Same thing if you go to the Shield Nation site, the Wealth Builders Tracking Form. Those two tools changed my life 30 years ago because I would have so much activity in my pipeline. If I wasn't putting it in my Wealth Builders Tracking Form, I wouldn't know where the proper follow-up would be. I would have so many people in my pipeline that when I did follow up, I would have talking points. I'd be able to say, hey, Jane, you and I visited about 4 weeks ago. You told me to keep the door open. I know you were busy at the time. Just wanted to touch base. Hey, how the kids doing? How's Joey? How's Sally? How are they? How's the job going? Has it gotten better? I've got things that I can refresh her with so that she remains kind of warm market. There's a sincerity of interest that I have, which means that there's a sincerity of interest that she has when I have the conversation, because I've got the notes that can reflect back to our conversation that we had 4 weeks ago. And then
John?
you can basically say, hey, Jane, you and I discussed the opportunity with Legal Shield. You said you liked what you saw. The time wasn't right. But I wanted to have that follow up and touch point to see, where you were today and if we might be able to revisit, some of the benefits we had to offer and see if we couldn't get you an extra 20, 30, 40,000 a year to make sure you got private education for your kids. Are you still interested? And bingo, we're there. Here is what you need to do though with the top section. When you take a look at Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if you're part-time on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what goals do you have? When you take a look at the number of presentations, are you going to do 3 presentations a day? Are you going to do 5 presentations a day based with what the time is? What is your goal for sales? Do you want to have, 5 sales a week? And so you maybe put 1 a day out of those sales that you make. Or is your goal 5 referrals per 1 sale? How many recruits do you want to have from that? You just have to have some form of a goal, because if you don't have something to shoot at, then you're just going to shoot at anything and it's just not going to work. The other thing is a week's plan. What you do today determines how much you make tomorrow. This is just as important for your upline. And I hate to use the word upline, downline, because that's not what I don't believe in that, but for your business partners as it is for you. If you're an educator and you're working Monday through Friday from 7 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, you need to mark that time off, because that's when you're at school and that's when you're teaching. All right. And when you come home, if that's the 45 minutes that you take to work out, then you mark that off. And then if you have to make dinner for the kids or something like that, then you mark that off. But on Monday night, you dedicate maybe 6 to 9 o'clock, to build your Legal Shield business. On Tuesday night at 6 to 9 o'clock. All right. So not only is that important for your business partner to know, but it's obviously critical for you to know, because that's where your time management comes into play with what your priorities, your A priorities are. Because in those 3 hours, you're not making coffee, you're not making tea, you're not doing the laundry. You're seeing the people and you're telling the story. Because you have a goal to get 5 presentations in, and you've got those 3 hours that evening to get 5 presentations, work the referrals and make the sales and do the things that you want to do. But this personal daily achievement form is really helpful, and you guys can let me know if you want me to go into more detail on that. And you're going to fill in each day with trainings, call times, and book presentations. The other thing for your business partner here is for them to be able to see this so they can kind of know where they want to help you, or what's best to help you. Go ahead.
So this would be, and I'm speaking for myself, but usually if I'm speaking for myself, I know I'm speaking for others.
Yep.
I would love to see one of these filled out. I start these sheets and then I get all fumbled and I end up not being able to follow it through. And I would love to see just see what does it look like when it's filled out. So maybe you could do that sometime.
Yeah, well, why don't we plan on it? And why don't we just plan on filling one out for you? And you and I will talk about it. And you'll say, I'll say, Jane, what do your Mondays look like? What do your Tuesdays look like? And we can go through and kind of fill that out.
Absolutely.
I can kind of go back and reflect on what mine looked like because I bartended at night. I framed houses in the morning. I tried to keep a company I started during the day from going bankrupt, but I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired that for things to change, I had to change. And for things to get better, I had to get better. You think I liked bartending until 2 a.m? No, that was, do you think I liked framing houses for $7 an hour and being broke and having more month at the end of the money? No, I hated all of that, but that was the only thing I knew so that I could create some cash flow to try to keep a company I started going. All right. And that's when we got introduced to our first business, NSA. So with all of those things I had going, I had to get time prioritized in this schedule here to know when I was committed to building my other business. So I no longer had to do those other things. So I can do that too. We can do that for sure. All right. Emotional management. According to Inc. magazine, emotions are a heck of a lot more important than intelligence. And I think if all of us were to be honest with ourselves, we can look around this world and go, too many people are being tossed to and fro because of emotions. Self-aware, self-disciplined, self-reliable, socially aware, relationally skilled. I'm not going to get into that in detail, but I'm going to go here. You and I talk about this all the time. We control our attitudes. We control our attitudes. It shouldn't control us. And I'll show you something and provide an example of that in just a minute. But that's the one part of the habits workbook that Darcy has put some, tremendous time into. And it's one of the greatest, I should say it's one of the big benefactors, I guess, we've had. And that's the results of what people come to us with about, what we control, the hours we work, the presentations we do, and our attitude. Too many people are focused on results. I was one of those people in the early days that focused on results. And I wasn't getting the results. And man, my attitude was jacked. I was all over the map. It wasn't until I learned what I really could control, and it was my attitude. I can't control results. All I know is my results get better the more I do the thing. And you guys have heard it. You've heard it. It doesn't just make sense in our business. This is in everything from being a pastor to a professional baseball player, to someone in sales, to an educator, to being a sailor. It doesn't matter. But what you lack in skill, you make up in numbers. And what you make up in numbers, you gain in skill. All right. Nobody on this phone, maybe all of you combined, I don't know how many people are on right now, but have not had as many no-shows as I've had. I've had more no-shows, and I'd be willing to put a lot of money on the table. I have more no-shows than all of you combined. But guess what? I decided after all of those no-shows, I decided that I just had to do something different. I had to get better. And you're going to refine and advance, R&A. You're going to refine and you're going to advance because you're going to change some things. And eventually I got to the point where I didn't get no-showed very much. So understand your attitude. So how many of y'all felt like this? Read that one for me, Jane.
Do you have days like this too often? Yes.
You're at the top, you're at the bottom. You're at the top, you're at the bottom. Right? I mean, look, not enough of you are smiling at this. You got to smile at this, man. I'm bartending tonight. I'm framing houses in the morning. And the nights that I didn't bartend, I would do a meeting in Grand Rapids, Michigan on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, I would drive to Lansing, Michigan, which was almost 2 hours away from Grand Rapids. I started the business in December of 1988. January of 89, I finally got some success, Darcy and I. It's in the middle of winter in Michigan. So On Wednesdays, I'd drive down to Lansing. I'd spend $100 for the room. I couldn't afford those little galoshes or rubbers that you put on your dress shoes. I had 2 suits to my name, pinstripe gray and pinstripe black. Both of those were my grandfather's suits that he passed down to me. I had 1 red paisley tie. I wore those suits for about a year. I did, and I would have to wheel our product display through the Best Western parking lot in Lansing, Michigan, through the slush and snow. I'd set the display up, and then I would wait for the people to show that told me they were wanting to come to the business op meeting. And this was like 3 weeks in a row, and this was my 3rd time. You know, $100 was a lot of money to me. Was a boatload of money. And guess what? I'd be there one Wednesday, 2nd Wednesday, 3rd Wednesday, no show, no show, no show. In my car was a cassette box. I know all of you know what cassettes are. You guys all, I can tell you guys know what cassettes are. Anyhow, I put the product back in the trunk of the car. I start driving back to Grand Rapids at about 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, snowing out, slushy, miserable Michigan weather. And I was big in personal development. Man, I loved Les Brown. I loved Tony Robbins, Og Mandino, Jim Brown. I had all the cassettes. I'm driving along and I just hit the little electric window for the passenger side. I open up that cassette box and I took each one of those cassettes and I threw them out the window like they were Frisbees. I threw every single cassette out that window on I-94, driving back to Grand Rapids. This doesn't work. I was cussing. I was mad. This business is BS. Nothing works. People are ridiculous. Just whining and crying and complaining and pissing and moaning and doing all that stuff. But by the time I got back to Grand Rapids, I got back into business. So Darcy took the car the next day and she was going to do something. And she calls me. She says, "Hey, where's the box of cassettes?" And I'm like, well, there's a little story. There's something I did last night and we don't have them anymore. They're on the side of the road between here and Lansing. My point is, that was a 2-hour process and I quit that business. But by the time I got to Grand Rapids, I was back in. There were other times in riding the roller coaster of being highs and lows that, yeah, I was so frustrated I wanted to quit. But each time I quit, it was only 4 or 5 minutes before I was back in the business. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to get kind of just, to vent. It's okay to just kind of let it go, but just don't let it take you out of the game. Don't let it take you out. It's okay when you got the highs, to suffer through a few lows. You're going to get back to the pinnacle. You're going to get back to the peak. You're going to get back to the top of the mountain. And the whole thing is you're going to be better in the process. Every single time you're going to grow. Every single experience that you have, you're going to get better. And that's what makes this business so doggone good. When I look at Teresa, or when I look at Rosalie or some of the others on here, we might make 100,000 a year. We might make 50,000 a year. We might make 300,000 a year. It doesn't really matter. What you can't measure is the heart, the character, the integrity, or what that person has become in the process. I have watched a lot of people stop doing the businesses that we have been a part of and go on to do other things and excel because of what they became in the process. So anyhow, kind of funny, just a little humor. I don't think I meet the height requirement to ride your emotional roller coaster. Something funny. Lastly, decision management. There's clarity on one side, there's confusion on the other. I just encourage you to take a picture of this, kind of think through this. Successful people process decisions differently. Short-term easy equals long-term hard. Short-term hard equals long-term easy. I played college basketball, and in high school, well, my buddies were like, "Hey, let's go out to this party and, let's go do this or let's go do that." I would cut the fingers, the fingers or the mittens, the little finger parts of the gloves off. I'd go up to my buddy's house in the wintertime. He had a basketball court. I would shovel off his basketball court. His dad would let me turn on the floodlights in the back. And in the wintertime, I'd shoot baskets. You know, they were at the parties, they were doing the things I wanted to do, but I also knew that it wasn't necessarily the right term. It was definitely the short term easy, but it wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go. I wanted to be a really good basketball player. I wanted to play in college, and I knew that while I was doing the short term hard, I knew that my competition probably wasn't. I knew that my competition was probably in on the couch with the heater on by the fireplace. I knew that my competition wasn't shooting the 300-400 baskets like I was shooting. So when I got on the basketball court, or when I did the things I did, I beat them. I was just better. Long term, is the short term hard is going to create that long term easy. Be willing to commit to doing. I guess let's just call it the slight edge. The simple daily disciplines compounded over time are going to produce some tremendous results. You're not going to see those results in maybe the first month, 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months, but it's just like getting in shape. It's just like controlling your nutrition or changing your diet. It's just like, really anything, making a commitment to praise people instead of criticize people. They're not going to see the difference in any of that in the first 3 months, but slowly you're going to see on that axis, you're going to see a movement toward success, or you're going to see a movement toward failure. So successful people are going to process decisions differently. And you can't be controlled by impulse. You can't be controlled by feelings. You can't be controlled by emotions. Just understand, here's my priorities. Here's what I need to do. I know if I do the thing, I'll have the power. And by doing the thing, I'm going to grow. By doing the thing, I'm going to get better. And by doing the thing, I'm going to get eventually the results. So, anyhow, there's probably a lot of things happening in the chat over there. And I don't know if anybody's seen that or is looking at that. So, I'd be happy to throw it out to any questions. I'll be happy to throw it out to any comments if anybody has any. And if you guys want to respond to support, or even to Jane, if you want to see a little bit more in discussion on any of this, happy to do it. Happy to break it down further. Happy to have a Q&A around it. And to Jane's point, we can break that PDA out even more, Jane, if you'd like. So any comments or questions? I apologize, I've gone over.
Hey, John, I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Calvin, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Calvin Stewart, Niceville, Florida. You were speaking about the personal daily achievement, the PDA, and you said when you talk to someone and you wait a while, maybe 2 weeks, a month, maybe longer, and then you talk to them about the things that keep you in mind, keep them in your mind for contacting them, like where they work, the kids and all that. How do you, I don't see that on the PDA. How do you keep those notes?
Yeah, Calvin, great question. Here's what I should do. And Jane, maybe you can remind me. I should bring this form up next to the Wealth Builders Tracking Form. Calvin, it's a good question. The Wealth Builders Tracking Form is on Shield Nation on the onboarding process. And if you print that off, that Wealth Builders Tracking Form is where you can make your notes and you can see exactly what the exposure process has been for each one of your prospects. So these two really go hand in hand with each other. This is just more for my goal planning and understanding where to prioritize the time I have. And then once I start to fill my pipeline, everything goes into the Wealth Builders Tracking Form. And I'll be glad to show both those together.
Is that in the habit book as well?
I don't think it's in the habits book, but it's definitely on the Shield Nation site.
I'll check it out. Thanks, John.
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Kelvin.
Okay.
Anybody?
I'm looking to see if nobody's put their hand up or asked questions. I think we're good. This has been amazing.
Good. Again, it's a good overview, but we can break it down in more detail at any point. And don't hesitate hey, listen, guys and gals, don't hesitate to say, hey, I need to review this, or I need more detail on that. Teresa?
There's Elaine also has a question.
Okay. You want to go to Elaine first, Jane?
You're unmuted. Go ahead. Well,
Go ahead, Elaine. I yield to Elaine, my colleague.
Hey, Teresa, how you doing, sweetie? Thanks, Jane. John, thank you so much. I'm actually just answering Kelvin's question too. I used to use the Franklin Covey system that John uses, and I had it for about 20 plus years. I now have my own system, but John will tell you more about how he would probably write the notes. And then in the very beginning of that system, day by day, it'll tell, you can actually put, okay, on April 1st, I spoke with Calvin. On April 4th, I spoke with Anna. And that way you can refer back. It's like a cross-reference system, and John will tell you more about that.
Yeah, Elaine, very good. It is extremely helpful. And what we'll do is, we can talk about that system certainly more, but with the Wealth Builders tracking form, I'll actually go and fill that out for you guys with, 4, 5, 6 names, show you what the exposure process looks like and how I follow up with that. Once they're in the pipeline, if I don't get the desired results at that point that I want. So, yeah, Teresa.
John, can you go back to that first slide, or the one that showed each one of those, the 5 different areas? Yeah, that one, self-management. I would really like to see you do training on just taking one of those at a time, similar to what Jane was talking about, and especially that emotional management. That is so key, because emotionally, if you can't, if the emotions are in the way, it really prevents you from being able to do anything. So I really would like to see you have a training segment each Monday night that covers all 5 of these, maybe a deep dive.
Okay.
Because I think all 5 of those are so important. And I love Jane's suggestion about filling those sheets out as a sample.
All right. I like it. That's fine. We can do that.
Great.
I'm just making a note to myself on that.
We have any other questions? Looks like we're good.
Okay, y'all. Fantastic. Well, hey, listen, let me leave it with this, Jane. We are almost through January. I can't believe it already. We've almost, gone through the first month of 2024. I hope you guys are, on the teams and, making some moves on the Dream Bigger challenges. And also, if you haven't got your tickets for Oklahoma City, rock and roll, make it happen. I'm not going to tell you to do it. You already know why you want to do it or why you need to do it. And I do know this also, that there's a big buzz going on out there with a lot of folks who have kind of been sidelined a little bit due to some past management issues that we've had, and who have kind of got the buzz and have heard what's happening with Warren and the team and the things we've all been putting together. So, they see the momentum happening, they see the momentum coming back, and they see the opportunity kind of always being what Harlan dreamed it would be. So you don't want to miss Oklahoma. You don't want to miss the breakout with the Shield Nation organization, and just that camaraderie, fellowship, and, kind of sharpening the axe as we go into, I think what's going to be, just a phenomenal year that's going to set up many more years to come. So get your tickets for OKC, folks. Jane, I'm done.
Then we have only Katie Huff has a short announcement to make, and then we will be done.
All right.
Hey, John. Remember me telling you, how are you?
Good.
This training is amazing, as always. Thank you for this, and I'm all in agreement with everyone that and their comments in regards to having this more like at the page by page, so we can get our own stuff down and actually put action into the forms, which would be great. And the other thing is what I wanted to share with people is some of you are in markets where I flew out to Washington for Melissa and Darnell's training. And I can tell you, for someone who's been with the company 26 years, I even texted John and I said, I think my business has been resuscitated. It's no longer on life support. And it's like blew me wide open because of the training and literally the verbiage to use to people, all kinds of things. And I would just encourage you to look where they're going to be. I know that they were in Memphis last week. I'm not sure where they're going to be this week, but every weekend they're going somewhere. And obviously it's just going to take your business to the next level. And of course, there's so many of us. And I think, Jane, you were asking next week for us that are on the small business, small group council that will share with people, what that's all about as well, because it's just bringing us back together, like you were saying, John, and that it feels like we're on the right path, going the right direction at the right speed, which is unbelievable to think that it's almost like a new birth again with our company. So I would just encourage everyone to do what you can to get there, because I'm actually doing a lot more than I have in a long time out in the field, still going out and making up appointments and knocking on doors and doing my PDA, John boy. So
Good.
yeah,
Good.
it's all good. So I would just encourage everyone to do that, because it's going to change your business, not overnight, but it'll change your actions overnight. So your business will happen faster. So that's what I want to share.
Yeah, I think that good word, Katie. Also on a Sunday after the breakout, we're going to be getting a bunch of tickets for the baseball game over at Bricktown. So we've done that in the past for a number of years, and it's a great opportunity to just hang out and watch baseball and hang out with Legal Shield Associates. So that will be happening Sunday afternoon as well.
Good to
More
know,
details
because
to come.
I was just looking at plane tickets before I got on, and I'm like, what time do you fly back? And so it's good to know that we're going to do the baseball game again.
Yeah. All right.
Great.
John, real quick, last thing, that baseball game, I had my new associate, Jim Level, he's on the call tonight. We went to the baseball game, sat down, he's chatting away with the man next to him. And after a while, I looked at him, I said, Jim, do you know who you're talking to? Harold Pinson and Kathy Pinson next to him. And
That's right.
he had
That's
no
right.
idea who he was. That was great. It was a good experience.
Yeah, that's a good one
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, be blessed.
John, what time's the baseball game?
More details to come. I don't have it yet, but I would imagine it's probably 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
Awesome. Thanks so much, John. You were amazing.
Good
Thank
night,
you,
everybody.
Night.
Thanks,
Jane.
John. Thanks, Jan. Have a good night.
Thanks. Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank
Be
you.
blessed.